Being scared about something, it is totally normal. We don't have to be like ashamed for it. I do believe that that's natural, but we can use that fear as a gasoline to move forward.
Voices of the Goddess.
Welcome back to another episode of Voices of the Goddess, where brilliant women come to take a break from their successful and sometimes overwhelming lives to level up, live free, and create abundance.
If your hectic life has you feeling a bit lost, if you're building your career, brand, or business, or if you simply want to get the most out of life, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Julieta Wenzel, founder of Body and Soul PT and Soul Candy.
And I'm your co-host, Graciela Laurent, professional portrait photographer specializing in boudoir and personal branding.
Whether you're relaxing with a cup of coffee or running around town, we've got you.
Whatever you're doing, thanks for bringing us along and sharing a laugh.
Here comes the magic.
Hello. Welcome to the show. We're inspired by us going whoop whoop at the beginning of an episode, so we might have to add that from now on. Whoop whoop. So to those of you that jog to our voices, get started. It is time. Pick up your feet, get going. I'll sit here and we'll narrate your run.
I love that you're wearing your beautiful scarf that you got while we were in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico.
Yes, thank you. Look, it has these cute little fuzzies at the end. I love it so much. And it's very warm, actually, and very light, which is really cool.
Warm and light. That's a plus. And I remember touching it. Its softness is ridiculous. It's so soft.
What's really
one of the things I love about traveling is like picking up items like that just, they're beautiful and a wonderful reminder of a beautiful experience.
I love it. Like if I could wear I probably do, frankly. If you look at like all the stuff I wear in a day, like it's a little bit of every culture I come across. I just pick my favorites of every culture and I'm like, oh, that feels good to me, you know? And so on any given day, I'm probably wearing 7 different traditional things from every culture but mine.
A lot of times I think they are remembrances of past life, you know, the different cultural things that resonate with me so much. And, you know, even I just look at how easily I was able to integrate myself into Latin culture, speaking the language, enjoying the food, dancing, the music, everything. Like, me, this German-Irish gringa from Wisconsin, like how did I like embrace this so easily?
Right.
I think it had to be memories of past life. So
yeah, for sure. You know, when we were in Mexico, I was having a chit chat with one of the guys there and I was saying, do you believe in past lives? And he's like, I don't know about that, you know? And I was like, man, I don't know how else you explain stuff like that, right? Like the familiarity or the ease with which something comes to you, or just feeling so incredibly moved. You know, I always tell the story that when I go to the Seminole powwow, the big tribal fair here in South Florida, you know, and I watch the grand entry where they're playing these amazing drums and everyone, all the different tribes from all over the US are there and they're coming in and they're all in their full regalia. And I'm telling you, and I've gotten so much better at not crying over the years, but I just start crying. Like, why do I start crying? I have no idea. It's not sad. It's actually a beautiful celebration. Like, it's not a memorial service. You know what I mean? Like, there are moments for that later on, but not in that particular entry. And I'm telling you, I'm just so moved by it. And who knows, right? But I don't know. I think past lives, and I think that you know, that memory that sticks to you, you know, I think it's just got to be true. It's got to be true. That or I'm to be committed. I don't know what to do.
Well, and I always say all of it, everything is made up. All of this is made up. So it's made up too, and that's okay. I always find interesting, you know, anybody who's been on my table, sometimes past life stuff comes up. And what's interesting to me, this has happened for quite a few of my clients, that I tell them, okay, this emotion is coming up in relationship to a past life, say 17 lifetimes ago, you were a woman, blah, blah, blah. And they'll be like, oh my God, does it have to do with da 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 da? And I will test. And it's like, they like just totally have this flashback to, they can see it clearly, this flashback to a lifetime that they experienced. And again, maybe it's made up, but it's when they just have like this instant connection and can see it, like, I don't know. It seems very possible.
Yeah. And I mean, you know what? The conversation with the gentleman that I was talking to, how it ended was, it doesn't really matter if it's true or not. It doesn't really matter if there's past lives or not. It only matters, does it move you forward in your current lifetime on the path that you're on? If it helps you, you can believe in whatever you want. You know, I used to say, if you believed in a frying pan with the fervor of any, you know, religion, it would serve you just as well. I'm sorry. Like, that's just my opinion. Like, anything that you put your faith into, you will find it, you know, you will find what you need. And so I don't know how much it really matters of what's true and what's not true, other than to say, choose what serves you, you know. But anyway, I didn't mean to get into my TED Talk mode, but here we are.
I love your TED Talks.
I have to do a 30-second funny story. So the other day, my daughter had to give a speech at school, and they sent me a video of her giving her speech. And of course, she gave it on K-pop and, you know, Korean music. And at the end of it, she looks up at the audience and she goes, and thanks for coming to my TED Talk. And I was like, oh my God.
Where did she get that from?
I can never tell her to say that, but oh my gosh. Yeah. So remember, you're always the example. Always the example.
They are always listening, and
for sure.
Be careful what you say. Be careful what you say.
You know what? It reminded me of the fire that we sat around, and you know, our guide who sat there singing. I mean, what could have been more magical? Like a beautiful evening. The weather was so cold. Without being freezing, right? It was just delicious. And what a great fire. And, you know, him playing a guitar and singing us, like, it was just, we were serenaded.
What I loved was, like, we pulled out songs from, like, every which where. It didn't matter. He had one ready to go.
For real. Ruben.
Because he was much younger than us. And, you know, like, I'm, like, asking him for songs back from the 80s. And I don't even know if he was born in the 80s, but he'd pull those songs out. That was super cool.
It was really
Thank you. Thank you, Ruben. I hope you're still there when we go back for our next retreat.
All right. Well, speaking of cool.
Yeah, this is the coolest of cool.
The coolest of cool. Hello.
Welcome,
Hello.
Elaine. Please do a favor of introducing yourself to our audience and tell them about the magic you do and what keeps you passionate about it.
Okay, so I'm Elaine Cruz Abril. I'm a chiropractor in downtown Fort Lauderdale. My practice is called Express Life Chiropractic. And what keeps me passionate about doing what I do is growth. I will say I'm addicted to growth, whatever that looks like. It can be growth from the spiritual, physical, financial. So, and actually like kind of like communicating that on the table to the clients, you know, like the coolness of growing and transformation and changing and moving and all that. So
I love that you.
Sorry.
We just keep talking over each other today. It's perfect. But what I was going to say is I love that you see your chiropractic practice as transformation and growth for your clients. So often, you know, in our Western medical world, it's like the patient just needs to have their physical body healed. And it's so much more than that. So much more than that. And that's one thing I love that you and your partner, who was also on the show, you both get it. So it's it makes for a beautiful practice over there.
You guys have your own stories, like your own stories of overcoming. Like you're not just preaching it, you're a living example of that growth.
I do believe that when you are like, when you work in the healing modalities, whatever that looks like for you, and you kind of have to keep yourself in check, and you have to walk the talk. Is that expression in English, like walk the talk? Did I say correctly? Yeah. So, like I think like the coolness thing is like you have to be all consistently living in authenticity and integrity. Um, and if you don't do that and you're not true to yourself, like you get it, like you're gonna see like how things are stop working for you immediately. So, it's like, I think it's a cool thing that like kind of your clients keep you accountable because you are in this journey of facilitating healing, and it keeps yourself also like you had to live what you preach. And if you don't, it shows.
Well, I always give you as an example, when I talk to people about vitality, and I always say, especially like when I do my branding sessions here, I'm like, do you ever meet someone and you're just like, man, they're so fucking happy all the time. Like, how do they do that? Like, I want what they have, Like, is it a pill? Is it a what is it? It's exactly 11:11. Isn't that funny? But I always say my friend Elaine is one of those people that you see her and like, yeah, I know you've got your days. I'm sure you must have lost some sleep having a baby. Like, I know those days are. But I love to see you living your best life, because you living your best life inspires me to live my best life. I've been enjoying watching your adventures.
And I think I do, and that's one of the things that moves me is actually, like giving myself permission to be myself, to live authenticity, and also to live and enjoy my life. And I know that by me doing that, the people out there that can relate, or they can get inspired about like everything is possible. Like, don't get yourself caught up in all these limiting beliefs, like, oh no, you can like this, I hate this saying, or well, like, oh, you cannot have the cake and eat it too. Yes you can. Yes you can. Yes you can.
So speaking of limiting beliefs, Elaine, what were some limiting beliefs that you had to get through to get to where you are today?
So many. Where do I start? Let me see what jumps like on my head. I will say like success is hard. That for you to be successful, you have to work hard for things, and it has to be painful. It has to be difficult. You need to sweat. You need to suffer. You need to struggle, because that will be worth of it. And that's one of my biggest like lessons, that it doesn't have to be like that. You can have healing, you can have success in whatever shape or form you want it, and it doesn't have to look like, oh my God, you're a martyr, you're struggling, it's so hard. Like it could be that way too if you choose to, but there's other ways. There's other ways to get into that place. And for sure, yes, sometimes it can look like suffering and struggling, but I believe it's also how you see it. It's just your perspective about it. Like a fact or something can happen to 10 different people, and 10 different people will see it with a different way. So one of my other lessons is all in the eyes of the beholder and how you see it. You can get excited about like a challenge, or you can get scared. And it's the same thing. It's actually, you have to choose how you see it. And the way it depends on how you see it is how you're going to act on it too.
Yeah, we talk a lot about how the quest for a spiritual life and the quest for happiness, it should be pleasurable. Like, it should feel good. It should not feel like a struggle. Like one thing that you posted recently, which I loved, it was such a great message, because I always talk about waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And yours is the opposite. You're like, I do not wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. My enlightenment comes at 11 a.m. Right? Like,
yeah, because there's a lot of, all these, like, if you start listening to all these like business gurus, especially most of them, they're men, and it's different. And they say, no, you had to wake up at 4 a.m. If you don't wake up at 4 a.m., you're a loser. You're wasting your morning, that precious magical time, which is true. I do see the value of that. But also, like, when you're a mom or you have a different type of lifestyle, you can create whatever that looks for you. It doesn't have to be at 5 a.m. Even though I would love to be up at 5 a.m. or fresh and, have my 9 hours of sleep and, start my day like in quiet before the sun. I think it's so romantical and beautiful. But at the same time, it doesn't, you don't have, for you to be successful, you don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. You can create your own schedule and make it work, and something that feels good. Because think about this: if you are sleep deprived, you're a mom of 3 people, you're sleep deprived, but you are a business owner, so you want to be successful, so you don't sleep shit, and you wake up at 5 a.m. Yeah, it's gonna be a beautiful day for you. Yeah, sure thing.
Well, the other thing, like,
could not start waking up at 5 until just recently that my kids are 14 years old and they're on their own. Do you know what I mean? Like, now my kids handle themselves. When my kids was your daughter's age, I was barely hanging on. Like, no bueno.
But also, time is just made up. Time is not real. And I also laugh with this need for us to change the clocks twice a year. Like, if the daylight time isn't serving you, just adjust your schedule. Why do we have to keep moving the clocks? Like, I've been told
that's stupid.
I've been told that, like, there's more heart attacks on the weekend of the time change just because it's so stressful for people. Like, the time change is killing people. Stop.
Then don't change it. Don't change it.
And we can adjust our daytime, adjust our schedules of the day according to the daylight. Like, that's how humans have always lived historically before clocks were invented. Like, adjust your schedule to what, the daylight that you need for whatever. And then there's this thing called electricity that creates artificial light. So
I saw a post of a Native American saying only a white man would cut off the top of a blanket, sew it to the bottom, and believe that he has a luxury blanket.
Yeah, I've seen that one before too. That's a good one.
Wisdom.
So I want to ask you about a book, because that's one of my favorite questions. And then later on, I do want to ask you more about your motherhood journey, because I think I would love to hear more about how you're creating your own life that way. But let's talk about books first. We always say that we want to add at least one special book to our library, and one day I'm going to physically gather all these books together, and it's going to be the greatest goddess library ever. I know you love to read. I know you love to learn. What's one thing you'd like to add?
I mean, like, I'm not, because I know you both are very big readers and you are all in spirituality. So probably I'm not going to say anything new to you. But I will say anything that I love Louise Hay. And there's a book which is very basic in terms of spirituality and healing that is called You Can Heal Your Life, and I think it should be in everybody should read that. The other one will be like the 4 Agreements from them. They're very simple, basic books that actually I feel they're very grounding and at the same time deep. They have some depth, but they're grounding. So there's so many. Anything from Wayne Dyer also, like all this, like, I don't know the name of the last one I read, but it was something in terms of the magic something. Wayne Dyer is great. Louise Hay, Abraham Hicks, the one that asks and is given. Atomic Habits is one that I read not too long ago. And it's not on the spirituality, but it's all about, like being disciplined and do the things that you have to do in order to create the changes that you're looking in your life, and like a really nice mindset about it to see it, so it's not that hard. Yeah,
that's awesome. How have you found reading now that you have a baby?
So now, what a great question. It's different now.
It's different now, right?
Now it's audiobooks.
Which I'm told is very valid. I'm very old school and I really love paper, but I understand and I acquiesce. It's okay.
No, and I was the same way. Like, people will say, no, you had to be like listening audiobooks. I'm like, it's not the same. But now that you have a baby, like you can just put an audiobook and listen to it. Even I agree, it's not the same. It's not because, like you listen, but if there's homework, you cannot do the homework or stuff, or you cannot pause it and do the things. But at least you read it way faster if you had a kid because of the interruptions. I mean, right now I'm an audible person. Everything is audio in the car, when I'm doing the breakfast, when I'm by myself.
I too was very resistant, and I will say it's been a while since I've done the audiobook, but several years ago when I was going through a transformational training program, we had a fairly large book required reading that we had to do, and it was like, how do you make this happen? How do you find time to get those books read? And the only solution I had was to listen to them on audiobooks when I was in the car. And what shocked me was I actually did enjoy it. Is my preference still to read an actual physical book and turn the pages, so I'm getting both the visual input as well as the feel of holding the book, the smell of the book, yes, it's a much deeper experience when you do an actual physical book. But I actually was pleasantly surprised with the audiobook. And probably the main reason I don't do audiobooks right now is because I'm a podcaster. I am out there listening to other people's podcasts, supporting other podcasters. And also it's like research to see what else is happening out there in the podcast world. So in my car, I do find myself listening to podcasts now instead of.
Well, but that's amazing. That's also like something that changed recently after, like, there's so much amazing content of everything that you can imagine in podcasts that wasn't our culture. I don't know, not even like 5 years ago. Yeah. Now you can find everything and anything that you want to learn, you want to listen from amazing people and content on podcasts, which I think is super cool. Super cool.
Yeah. Pick a topic and you will find a podcast on it.
Mm-hmm.
The other day I Googled podcasts for teens, because my teens spend time online, and I was like, okay, let me see if I can get them to listen to podcasts that are appropriate for them and things like that. But I'll tell you, my son is not like a super strong reader. Like he's a good reader. He just doesn't enjoy it. Like he doesn't love picking up a book. But when he needs to, that boy has become so resourceful. He will go online and he will find an audio version of whatever the homework is, and he'll have it read it to him. And he understands it so much better. He's just an audio learner, So you can, this goes back to our point of you can create your life any way you want. Which leads me to the question of, I wanted you to talk a little bit about having a baby and continuing your beautiful travel schedule. And I know you've had to make accommodations, but you really seem to be taking advantage and trying to stay true to yourself. So how has your authenticity remained the same, and how has it shifted having a child?
I'm gonna open the dogs. I don't know because you can hear it. So I think when they come in, it's gonna be good. So just give me 1 second.
Perfect.
Dogs always want to be a part of the podcast. And when Allison was my co-host and she had oh my God, the dogs were in.
All right, I'm back.
This is live. It's not fake. It's all real.
No, being a mom and having 2 dogs also, right? How do you do that with it? So, and one of the things is before being a mom, one of my biggest fears around it was your whole life changed, never is the same again. It's all about sacrifices and accommodations, and, you cannot lose yourself in the process. And I was like, well, I'm having such a great time in this life, and I don't know if I want to compromise that part of myself. I had a great time with my partner, with friends and everything. But at the same time, I always am a firm believer that, sure, to show people, sure, that's the way you live your life, but that's not the way that I can choose living mine. I can create my own terms and rules and everything. So with me, it has been my daughter on the first year of life, she has more stamps on her passport than probably the average American. And
more than me, that's for sure.
So, I think it's all about, for example, if you do have a baby, it's about keeping it light and going. And I know it sounds romantic as well, but you really have to go with the flow. I think one of the things that kids bring into our lives is those big changes, but the more we resist them is when it gets really hard. And for me, what gave me that flexibility is about being very flexible. about everything. So, a lot of kids, they do all these crazy routines, sleeping routines, like bathing routines. Everything is a routine for them. Me, like with her, not so much. She does have an idea of what her day looks like. And I know there's a lot of power and it's positive, the routines. But at the same time, I think she showed us as her parents because of a reason. And, like she's coming into our lives. We already have a life built. So, like she's kind of like going and growing and adapting in it. And of course, we have to do accommodations, absolutely, and everything. But for me, I know I don't want to sound no arrogant or anything, but it's been easy. It's been easy. It's been easy. I love it. And I'm pretty sure it's not easy, but I'm pretty sure it's not easy. But at the same time, it's what I said before, is how you see it and how you take the challenges and how you go with that. Like sleeping, of course, I don't sleep. But I'm not gonna not like before.
Not like before.
But it is how you choose to see things, how you choose to respond to it. It's always a choice, and whatever choice we make it harder or easier for ourselves. So
it's like also like I think the flexibility also comes with adaptability, and I pride myself of being very adaptable. And whatever challenge shows up, okay, I embody who I need to be in order to fix this issue or to learn this lesson, and it happened that I chose to be a mom. So I'm embodying that being a mom, that mom experience. And I love it. I think it's amazing. Never thought I was going to be a mom. It was never like on my list of dreams and things. And it happened. And I'm so happy because I do believe that it gives, there's some special powers and transformations that you are a mom. It's kind of given to you. When you're not a mom, you can get there. But of course, you have to do a lot of other types of work to get there. Like when you become a mom, it's like that flush or embodying of energy going from source, creating something. And you can do that without a kid. But it's kind of given to people that I don't know if I'm making sense, but I think it gives you like some other special powers and more resilience and peace. In my case, it has given me lots of peace.
Wow.
And groundedness.
First mom on the planet to say that having kids has given her peace. That's really powerful.
Yeah, for me, it is. It's like kind of like, I think when I didn't have my baby, there was a lot of choices, right? When you have somebody that you're like absolutely responsible for their life and well-being, and like the choices are less, so it's easier to choose. Kind of, it's like, okay, it's this or that. So what do you want to accomplish? This, okay, so that's it. Just get over it. Just enjoy, embody who you need to be. Next thing.
So the question is, how long till Luna gets her first Burning Man trip, huh?
Well, I will believe that I'm ready to go back. But it's a really hard. It's a hard conditions for a baby. Even though it can be done, if you go with an RV and everything, it can be done. But probably I'm gonna wait until she's more than 5 years old to take her there. Yeah. But it will be a great family trip. There's a lot of magic on the desert, so it's amazing.
Nice. So we're getting close to the end of the show here, but I'm wondering, because I know you are filled with all kinds of wisdom and spiritual gifts. What do you have as a parting gift for our audience to share with them?
I would say like being afraid is okay. Like being scared about something, it is totally normal. We don't have to be like ashamed for it. I do believe that that's natural, but we can use that fear as a gasoline to move forward, and instead of being paralyzed, that's a choice. You are afraid of, now everything is changing for everybody that I know, collective, individually, everything is changing. You can choose like resist the shame and being afraid of it, or you can use that feeling, that energy that it gives you, okay, and transform it or transmute it into excitement. And it is a choice. It is a choice that you do.
Yeah, there's a YouTube with Will Smith where he talks about how everything that you desire lies on the other side of fear. And so I find myself, when I feel the fear, I get excited because I know that this is something big, this is something important. And when I step through that fear, the rewards on the other side are going to be immense. So
and I ask you, isn't always like that? Like when you do have that fear and you choose to, because I do the same thing. When I feel fear, I say, okay, I recognize the fear. I'm gonna get excited about it because of there's uncertainty. Woohoo! Surprises. Let's see where we go now. But then what lies on the other side is usually you always like, it makes sense because many times life doesn't make sense looking to the future. It usually makes sense when you look back. So every time that you look back, you're like, yep, that was exactly what I was going through. That's why I learned this, and that's where I'm at today.
Yeah, I think that for me, the fear is what's on the other side of fear is choices, right? And opportunity. Because I was thinking today, I saw, I don't know, some roller coaster or something. And it just got me thinking about all the times that I've seen like some really scary roller coaster. And I've always said, yes, like, okay, let me do it. And a couple of times I've gotten off the roller coaster going, okay, glad I did it, but I'm never doing that again. That one wasn't, And so it's not that what's on the other side is always perfect and the best thing or some big accomplishment. Maybe it's a failure, quote unquote, you know what I mean? But I think the joy is, like the thrill is in the trying. And then now you're able to make those decisions, right, from a place of knowing. Like, okay, I tried that and it wasn't for me, but cool, now I know. As opposed to that anxiety of not knowing, right?
But that's like, even like you can fail in a decision or anything, I actually see it also as a positive thing because, as you said, you gain the wisdom, you gain the knowledge. So it always works out, even though it might not work out the way you expect.
Absolutely.
No,
but you get your medicine.
I have one more question since we are super close. We've been talking a lot about rituals and ceremonies. Is there a particular ritual that you have on a daily basis that you would like to share that you think, moves you forward every day? Something you love to do?
Well, like in terms of rituals, I do love that you are a lot in the cacao. So I have my own thing with cacao, but I put coffee in it. So when I was pregnant, I stopped drinking coffee. So I created this routine with cacao. So instead of coffee, because I used to drink coffee every morning, I do the cacao with collagen, like collagen, what else? Like vanilla. I put all these things in it. So it's kind of rich. And I also put coffee because I want my caffeine too. But for me, like starting the day with that warm drink. And of course, if you can set yourself to like drink it slowly and going over your agenda or doing a little bit of journaling. For me, that's my favorite way to start the morning is like with my hot drink, my daughter just playing and doing her thing. And then I go over my calendar, my agenda. If I have any types of downloads about things that I dreamed the night before, I just go and start writing, or any type of concern or worrying. So journaling. So rituals for me are different now that I have a baby in terms of how they look like. But that's one of the things that I try to keep consistent.
Love it. I have not considered putting coffee in but I might consider checking that out once on a weekend, because my boyfriend drinks coffee and I've got my cacao and they're both sitting there. What if we bring them together?
Well, it's so delicious. It's so like right now, I don't drink coffee any other way. Like people's like, let me get a coffee in Starbucks. I'm like, ooh. Like I do my own coffee at my home. It's my favorite, and I do it with cacao and everything. So it's good.
Nice.
But I don't know if you're sensitive to caffeine though.
No, I've always said, like, I'll go out for a fancy meal and I want my espresso after that meal. And people look at me like, how are you going to sleep tonight? And I'm like a baby.
Like a baby.
My partner asked me the other day, do you want to go out to breakfast? And I was like, you know what? I'm in this phase of my life where everything I like is inside my house. So I just want to stay here and have my cacao, and I want to eat my oatmeal, and I want to have my special blueberries. And, yes, maybe when we're on vacation, obviously we'll go out. But honestly, man, if you can create your house into your sanctuary, to me, that's what I like. I'm like, you know what?
I'm there with you. I'm there with you. Right now that I do have a baby, that was a big shift for me. Right now, I always prefer to eat at my home. Yeah. And have my own coffee. I make my own coffee and I make my own food. I know how I'm preparing it with the love that I'm putting in it. I know exactly what I'm eating. So yes, that was a big shift, because before having a baby, it was all about eating out. Now, sometimes it happens a couple of times a week, but it's like, for me, it's like, all right, we're going to eat out. Instead of being like, oh, no, I prefer preparing my own food, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this time with us. I still laugh because in my mind, you had already been on this show, and I can't believe that. It happened in another dimension, in another realm. But glad that it finally happened in this 3D world, and so that our audience gets to experience the Elaine that we know and love. And
it's always, it always happens when it needs to happen,
Exactly.
And I know you all know, but don't forget to check out the show notes. That's where you can catch all the details, and we can continue this conversation in our Circle of Goddesses Facebook group. Elaine's a part of that as well. So any questions you have for her, you can pop in and ask there. So lots of exciting things ahead.
Yay.
Awesome. Thank you again. And thank you to our listeners, and have a magical day, everyone.
Thanks for joining us today and keeping us in the top 10% of podcasts in the world.
Ask us how you can promote your business on this podcast as a sponsor, and make sure you check out the show notes for details on how to get in touch with Julieta, Graciela, or today's special guest.
We're sending you lots of love and gratitude. Have a magical day.